إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أما بعد. Brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created mankind for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to serve and worship Him alone. However, our journey, our path to servitude is the easy part. Serving Allah, worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the easy part. However, this path, this journey to servitude becomes compromised by internal and external obstacles that tend to complicate our path or our journey to servitude. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ in many hadith, many narrations, encourage us to condition ourselves to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in times of ease and convenience, so that it's already a habit for us when times get difficult and trying. Understanding that our lives are in between periods of prosperity and other times of adversity. But if you condition yourself to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when things are easy, then worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when things are difficult will become easy. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in an authentic hadith, "Badiru bil a'mal sab'an," hasten to do good deeds. Hasten to condition yourself to do good deeds before you are afflicted with one of 7 things. And in some instances, people can be afflicted by all 7. But hasten to do good deeds. Condition yourself to do good deeds when things are easy, so that you protect yourself when times become difficult if you are afflicted by one of these 7 things. He said, "Badiru bil a'mal sab'an." Hasten to do good deeds before you are afflicted by one of 7 things. هَلْ تَنْتَظِرُونَ إِلَّا فَقْرًا مُنْسِيًا. Are you waiting for poverty to overtake you that will cause you to forget the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over you? When people fall victim to poverty, they totally forget God. God is not even on the radar, because I am so concerned with focusing on the things and pursuing the things that I don't have, that I fail to nurture the thing that I do have, and that is your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have Allah, you have everything. However, poverty has a way of making you forget that. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Hal tantadiruna illa faqran munsiyan." Are you waiting for poverty to overtake you to cause you to forget? Ali radiallahu anhu, he said, كاد الفقر أن يكون كفرا فإن الفقر منسيا حق الله جل وعلا وحق الغير. Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he said, poverty should almost be considered kufr, disbelief, because poverty will cause you to forget the right of Allah over you and the right of other people over you. When you are poverty stricken, when you are poor, you don't care about anybody else's right. I'm going to get mine regardless. I'm going to get what I believe is due to me regardless of anybody else's right. And poverty doesn't mean, brothers and sisters, just financially or materialistically poverty-stricken. But poverty can also be spiritually poor, emotionally poor, where you go into relationships with people and you get from them what you need, totally forgetting about what they need. You are spiritually poor, emotionally poor, and the damage is just the same. It causes you to forget the right of other people over you because you are in pursuit of what you believe is your right exclusively. You are not exclusively the right to be happy is not exclusively yours. We tend to think that I want to be happy, and anything that I need to do to be happy, I will do it, and I don't care who I have to cross, I don't care who I have to step on, I don't care who I have to dismiss in order for me to pursue my happiness. Well, understand something. Happiness is a right of every human being, and you do not have a right in your pursuit of happiness to step on someone else or to dismiss someone else's happiness. It doesn't matter if it's your children, it doesn't matter if it's your parents, it doesn't matter if it's your spouse. You do not have a right exclusively to happiness. It's not just your haq, it is the haq of every human being. It is the right of every human being to be happy. And just as you don't want anyone to infringe on your happiness, then you have to make sure that you don't infringe on someone else's happiness in your pursuit of your own happiness. So the Prophet ﷺ said, هَلْ تَنْتَظِرُونَ إِلَّا فَقْرًا مُنْسِيًا. What are you waiting for? Poverty to overtake you, to cause you to forget? Cause you to forget the right of Allah over you? Because you are in pursuit of your dunya? We have this mentality as living in a capitalistic society, al-ghaya tubarri'u al-wasila, that the goal justifies the means by any means necessary. Any means that I got to use to attain or to get to my destination. I don't care who I have to squash. I don't care who I have to dismiss. I don't care who I have to cross. I don't care who I have to step on. My goal, tubarri'u al-wasila, my goal justifies my means. That concept is a farce in Islam. That concept of my goal justifying, the end justifying the means in Islam is a farce. It does not work in Islam because the goal for us is the pleasure of Allah. And the only way that you can get to pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through servicing His creation, not stepping on them, not using and abusing them. That is not how you get to the goal of pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rida Allah Jalla wa ala. Ubudiyatullah. The servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You do not get that by dismissing the servitude of other people. So Ali radiallahu anhu, he said, كَادَ الْفَقْرَ أَنْ يَكُنْ كُفْرًا. That poverty was almost going to be disbelief. Because poverty will cause you to forget and neglect the right of Allah over you, as well as the right of other human beings over you. The Prophet ﷺ continued, he said, أَوْ غِنًا مُضْغِيًا. Or are you waiting for some richness, wealth to come to you that will cause you to become a tyrant, cause you to become oppressive? Look how people become when they get money. Look at how oppressive they become when they have wealth. Oppressive to their families. Look at a man who is oppressive to his wife when he has money and she doesn't. Look at a woman who is oppressive to her husband when she has money and he doesn't. Constantly throwing it in your face, constantly putting restrictions on you because they have and you don't. Look how oppressive we become when we now are in a position of leadership. We were once a subordinate and now we're in a position of leadership. And we take all of our frustration out on all of those who are now our subordinate. La ilaha illallah. هل تنتظرون إلا فقرا منسيا أو غنى مضغيا? Or are you waiting for poverty to overtake you? Are you waiting for richness and wealth to overtake you so that you become oppressive? أو مرض مفسدا? Or are you waiting for some sickness to overtake you so that you become disabled? What are you waiting for? بَادِرُ بِالْأَعْمَالِ, hasten to do good deeds now before you are afflicted with sickness that disables you. Al-maradan mufsidan. You are afflicted with a sickness and now you can't pray your sunnah prayers. Now you can't make sujood. Think about people right now who in their teens, in their early adulthood, neglected the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not salat, not sadaqah, not siyam, wala shay. And now later on, 50, 60 years later, they want to become spiritual and religious because they know that the time between them and death is very short. And now you have back problems, you can't even prostrate. Subhanallah al-Azim. You sat around and you waited for sickness to overtake you and has now disabled you. So now when you want to worship Allah the way that you feel, because now you are spiritually enlightened, you can't because of the time that you neglected when you had the ability to do so and you didn't. It was all about my money, all about my business, all about my children, all about my home. شغلتنا أموالنا وأهلنا فاستغفر لنا. Our wealth, our businesses, our children preoccupied us. Make dua for me. MashaAllah. You had the ability and you neglected it. هل تنتظرون إلا فقرا منسيا أو غنى مطغيا أو مرضا مفسدا. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for poverty to overtake you to cause you to forget about the right of Allah? Are you waiting for richness to come to you so that you become oppressive? Or are you waiting for a sickness to overtake you so that it disables you? أو هرما مفندا. Are you waiting for some mental illness to overtake you so that you become mentally unstable? You can't even worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you have been afflicted by so many mental health illnesses which are rampant in the Muslim community. Rampant in our communities. People suffering from mental health illnesses on levels you probably couldn't even imagine. In our marriages with our children, the abuse, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, the verbal abuse, all of it stemming from mental health illnesses. But you waited. You constantly put yourself in situations where your anxiety was exacerbated. Put yourself in situations where your mental health illnesses increased. In relationships where we are triggering one another in the relationship, increasing our risk for mental health illnesses. Facts, brothers and sisters. Al mawtin mujhiza. Or are you waiting for death to overtake you so suddenly? What are you waiting for? You're waiting for death to overtake you suddenly. The time that you are going to die, the time that I am going to die, none of us knows. It's going to come to you suddenly. One day you're not going to wake up. One day you're going to leave out of your home, put your keys in your car, tell your wife goodbye, tell your kids goodbye, and you're never going to come home. The next time your children, the next time your wives, the next time your husbands see you, they will be washing your body in preparation for you to be shrouded to meet your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are you waiting for? We could leave out of this mosque right now and none of us knows when your time is going to be. What are you waiting for? Mawtan mujhiza? Are you waiting for death to overtake you suddenly? What are we waiting for? Our Dajjal for sharru ghaim yuntadar. Or are you waiting for the Dajjal to come? Which is the worst and the most evil of things that you could possibly wait for. Sharru ghaibin yuntadar. It's the worst thing that you could possibly sit around and wait for the Dajjal to come. He said, Awas sa'a fasa'atu adha wa amar. Or are you waiting for Yawm al-Qiyamah? You're waiting for the last day before you do good deeds. Inshallah, during Ramadan, I'm going to do good. Inshallah, as soon as Ramadan is over, I'm going to do good. Inshallah, as soon as my birthday comes around, I'm going to party and then I'm going to get it out of my system and then I'm going to do good. What are you waiting for? As-sa'ah. You're waiting for the last hour. You're waiting for the last day. وَسَاعَةُ أَدْهَا وَأَمَرُ. And the hour is most grievous. The hour is most bitter. Understand something, brothers and sisters. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. And no matter what obstacle presents itself to us, we have to learn how to be spiritually resilient. We have to learn how to navigate our challenges using the religion as the guide. Using our religion as the guide. And find our way back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we get deviated. Sometimes we go off the path, but we have to learn how to find our way back, being resilient with our deen, because servitude is our end goal. Allah told us, وَعْبُدَ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. Worship your Lord until death overtakes you, meaning death, worshiping Allah all the way until we reach our death is the goal. Not hiatus, I'm going to take a break. There is no hiatus in Islam. There is no taking a break. There is worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until death overtakes us. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us in many narrations how to be resilient. He woke up one morning and he asked Aisha, do we have any food? And Aisha said, no, ma lana shay. We don't have anything. As Aisha narrated in another narration, that months would go by and no oven would be lit in the household of the Prophet ﷺ, and the only thing that we would survive off was aswadan, the two blacks, meaning water and dates. That was the diet of the Prophet ﷺ, to detox his body, not just physically from food and meat and all of the things that we constantly filling our bodies up, but detoxing your spirit, detoxing your soul. Because when there's nothing in your belly, then your mind is free. This is the purpose of fasting. When there's nothing in your stomach, you have nothing to concentrate on except what is in your mind. The Prophet ﷺ said the worst vessel that the child of Adam can fill is his stomach. The worst vessel that you can fill is your stomach. And if you notice, in another narration, he said, all of the illnesses that we experience start and emanate from the stomach. The Prophet ﷺ, when Aisha told him we have no food, he said, Idhan ana sa'im. He said, then, therefore, I'm going to fast. He didn't say, oh, we don't have any food. I got to go out. I got to provide for my family. I got to go sell my soul to go get some provision for my family. Who's going to provide for my family? Because that's the excuse that we use to go out and sell our soul for the dunya. There is no excuse for selling your soul, selling your deen. The Prophet ﷺ said about an individual, about a time where a man will sell his deen, يَبِيعُ دِينَهُ بِعَرْضٍ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا, will sell his soul, sell his deen for a portion of this dunya. And that is the gateway. That is the excuse that we use. Oh, I got to provide for my family. The Prophet ﷺ asked his wife, do we have any food in the house? She said, no. He said, then I'm going to fast. That is what you call being resilient. Finding a healthy alternative. Not succumbing to your situation or your circumstance. Finding a healthy alternative. If I don't have that, then I'm going to do this. The Prophet ﷺ told his daughter Fatima, who came to him asking him for a maid. She wanted a maid servant because her hands had blisters on it for working out in the garden. And the Prophet ﷺ told his daughter, youngest baby girl, Fatima, the same woman who he told her husband Ali, Fatima bid'atun minni, yuriduha ma arabani. He said, Fatima is a part of me, and what hurts her hurts me. That's his baby girl. She came to him asking him for a maid. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, will not give you a maid, but I'll give you something even better. When you go to bed at night, Say Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, and Allahu Akbar 34 times. That is better for you than a maid. Rely on your deen. Use your religion to be resilient. Find another alternative. If that doesn't work out for you, don't just give up. Don't give in. Find another alternative from your religion to help you navigate through the trial or the tribulation or the circumstance. That is what it means to be resilient. We have Muslim children committing suicide today because they have no resilience. They don't understand the quality of being resilient. So what? This person doesn't like me. So what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves me if I'm doing the right thing. I don't care if the person doesn't like me. I don't care if a group of people don't like me. The Prophet ﷺ told Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, وَعَلَمْ لَوْ أَنَّ الْأُمَّةِ اجْتَمَعَ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَضُرُّوكَ بِشَيْءٍ لَا يَضُرُّوكَ إِلَّا بِشَيْءٍ قَدْ كَتَبَهُ اللَّهُ لَكَ. He said, no, O Ibn Abbas, if the whole entire nation gathered together to do some harm to you, they would only harm you with what Allah has already decreed for you to be harmed. Nobody can do anything to you except if Allah allows them to. You don't have any power. The power you have is an extension of the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only thing you can do to me is what Allah allows you to do. You are not the power, Allah is. We say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's no power, no might, nor strength except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say, Allahu Akbar multiple times throughout our salat to remind us who the real power is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Learn to be resilient, brothers and sisters. Stop jumping off the deep end. The consequences of that are far greater than you dealing with the situation that is in front of you. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned in another hadith, عرض علي ربي ليجعل لي بطح مكة ذهبا فقلت لا يا ربي. He said, my Lord made me an offer. Not my boss, not somebody at a job, not somebody, a friend. He said, my Lord made me an offer. عرض علي ربي. My Lord made me an offer. And يجعل لي بطح مكة ذهبا, to give me a valley of Mecca, valley in the city of Mecca filled with gold. That's what my Lord offered me. He said, La ya Rabbi. No, oh my Lord. I don't need a valley of gold. Right? And that is reminiscent, many of us confusing and conflating our needs with our wants. We want this, but we don't necessarily need it. You guys can move up, inshallah. We'll figure it out when it's time for salah. We confuse and conflate our needs with our wants. The Prophet ﷺ realized, I didn't need a valley of gold in Mecca. I don't need that. That's not a prerequisite to my happiness. Understand? We have to be able to pinpoint and identify the things that really make us happy. And having a bunch of money, having a bunch of, that's not the source of happiness. The Prophet ﷺ said to Allah, La ya Rabbi. No, oh my Lord. He said, وَلَكِنْ أَشْبَعْ يَوْمًا وَعَجُوعَ يَوْمًا. He said, but I am content with being hungry one day and full the next day. He said, فَإِذَا جُعْتُ تَضَرَّعْتُ إِلَيْكَ وَذَكَرْتُكَ وَإِذَا شَبَعْتُ شَكَرْتُكَ وَحَمَدْتُكَ. He said, when the days when I'm hungry, when I'm full, I'll be grateful to you and I'll praise you. And the days that I am hungry, تَضَرَّعْتُ إِلَيْكَ وَدَعَوْتُكَ, I will turn to you in humiliation and humility, and I will call on you. Resilient. When I don't have, I'm going to humble myself and I'm going to call on you. Not when I don't have, I'm going to go out and do something haram so I can make sure my family is taken care of. Where's the integrity as Muslims? Where's the integrity? He said, the days that I'm full, I will praise you and I'll be grateful to you. And the days that I'm either jerked, or the days that I'm hungry, the days that I don't have, تَضَرَّعْتُ إِلَيْكَ, I will turn to you in humility. Some of us need to be humble. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala straightens our provision to humble us. Not because Allah wants to punish you. Sometimes we need to be humbled. Sometimes we need to be humbled. And there is no humility like divine humility. Meaning the humility that is brought about as a result of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's intervention in your life. Allah intervenes in your life to humble you. Maybe it doesn't mean that you are arrogant, but maybe there's something beyond that you don't see that is going to make you arrogant. So before you get there, Allah humbles you. So when you finally do arrive, you arrive in humility. Like the day the Prophet ﷺ entered into Mecca, and he had over 10,000 of the Sahaba behind him. People in Mecca were terrified. And the Prophet ﷺ entered in the city of Medina riding on a donkey with his head lowered. You understand? Understanding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala humbled him throughout the whole entire situation and then gave him the Fath al-Mecca, gave him the conquest of Mecca. And on the day he entered into Mecca, he entered not on a horse or a camel with his chest poked out with a helmet on, waving his sword, saying Allahu Akbar. He entered on a donkey with his head lowered out of humility before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, realizing all of what Allah had taken him through was for his own benefit, was for his own good. But many of us don't want to be humbled. We don't want humility. And as a result of that, our life circumstance and situation continues to humble us situation after situation. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-azim. ونفعني وإياكم بما جاء فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم. أقول ما تسمعون أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله العلي الجبار غافر الذنب والقابل التوب الشديد العقاب وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. As we see from these three examples, these three hadith that we mentioned, every time the Prophet ﷺ recognized that there was a loss in terms of food, in terms of something that he believed he needed, or something, a basic human need, he relied on his religion. He relied on his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Fatima asked for a maid, he gave her Islam. When Allah offered him a valley of gold, he opted for Islam. Qualities, characteristics in our religion that help to foster and nurture the relationship between the servant and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the greatest obstacles in our journey to servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the times of trials and tribulations that we live in. Fitna has a tendency, brothers and sisters, to make people heedless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they become consumed with the obscurity of the situation. They become consumed with fear and trepidation and anxiety, searching for ways that will alleviate the feelings that they are experiencing. And the Prophet ﷺ warned us about these times. The Prophet ﷺ warned us that times would come wherein we would see obscurity, where people would not know the difference between halal and haram, where people would not know the difference between what is lawful and what is not lawful. Many times I receive emails from brothers, sisters, is this permissible, is that permissible? And you're just scratching your head because you can't understand why in the world do Muslims not acquaint themselves with their religion. But it's not even that, it's the confusion. You go to this imam, you ask him a question, he gives you one set of answers. You go to this imam, he tells you something totally different, the total opposite. It's confusing. We haven't been taught usul al-fiqh, the foundations of jurisprudence. So we live in this binary between halal and haram, and that's all we know. If it's halal, we can do it. If it's haram, we can't do it. And that's all we know. So life as a Muslim in America here becomes black and white. And it's confusing. because we don't know the foundational principles of the religion, whether it is related to aqidah or is it related to interactions, al-ta'amul, al-mu'amalat, how we are to interact with the world that is in front of us. And the Prophet ﷺ again, he said, بَادِرُ بِالْأَعْمَالِ فِتَنٍ كَقِطْعِ اللَّيْلِ الْمُظْلِمِ يُصْبِحُ الرَّجُلُ فِيهِ مُؤْمِنًا وَيُمْسِي كَافِرًا أو يمسي مؤمنا ويصبح كافرا يبيع دينه بأرض من الدنيا. The Prophet ﷺ here again, hasten to do good deeds. Hasten to do good deeds. Hurry up and condition yourself to do good deeds before there becomes a day where the darkness in that day will be like a piece of the darkness of the night. A man will go to sleep, a believer, and wake up a disbeliever. And wake up a believer, go to sleep a disbeliever, a believer and wake up a disbeliever, or go to sleep a believer and wake up a disbeliever. يَبِيعُ دِينَهُ بِأَرْضٍ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا, will sell his religion for a share of this world. And if these are not the times that we are living in, then I don't know when this time will come. We have seen within the past, myself personally, have witnessed within the past few months so many Muslims confused about their religion. And although they are the bold ones to say this religion is not working for me, take off the hijab or stop observing the salah, there are many more who are sitting amongst our ranks, and in their hearts there's a disease of rayb, of doubt of whether or not this religion is even for them, whether or not they're even going to remain on this religion. And it's a very scary place to be. It's a scary place to be a Muslim, sitting amongst other Muslims, looking at everyone else, enjoying the practice of their religion, while you're sitting here in doubt whether or not this is even for you. It's a very scary place to be. However, the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that we should hasten to do good deeds before times like this approach. And the reason why, part and parcel, is the dysfunction of the Islamic communities here in America. That's number one. That goes without question. The dysfunction of American Islamic communities throughout America. The dysfunction, the lack of concern and consideration for new converts who come to the religion from other religions and find no home of their own within the religion, within the ranks of the Muslims. The constant bickering and back and forth between religious scholars and leaders, each one of them arguing their point and their opinion, even if it means to sacrifice the whole community to prove that you're right. Even if that's what it means. And the Prophet ﷺ warned us about that as well. He said, perhaps there will come a time, he said, continue to enjoy what is good and forbid what is evil until you see this time approach. Hawa muttaba, people following their desires. I'jab kulli bi nafsi, kulli bi ra'yin bi ra'yihi, and everyone being so opinionated and being amazed and pleased with their own views and opinions. When you see these times coming, da'an kal awam, leave the regular people alone and focus on yourself. فَإِنَّمَا وَرَائِكُمْ أَيَّامُ الصَّبْرِ الصَّابِرُ عَلَى دِينِهِ كَالْقَابِلِ عَلَى جَمْرِهِ. He said, leave the normal people, the lay people, the general people alone and focus on yourself during these times. He said, because indeed behind you is just days that require patience. The patience of a person on their religion is like a person trying to hold hot coal in their hand. That's how difficult it would be trying to hold on to your deen. And here we are today. So part and parcel is because of the dysfunction of the Islamic communities here in America, and partly due to weak faith that was never nurtured. When you come into Islam, or when you begin to practice your religion, you have to nurture your faith. The Prophet ﷺ and many of the Sahaba in the past, they said, faith, kal-qamis, that Iman is like a shirt. We can wear it today and take it off tomorrow. Some of the Salaf in the past, they used to say that Iman is like a shirt, like a garment. And if you do not renew, جَدِّدُ إِيمَانَكُمْ, if you do not renew your faith, then it will wither away just like the fabric of a garment withers away. You have to nurture your faith. And you have people who convert to Islam. They linger in the Islamic community for years, never learning anything, never understanding anything, and never gaining a solid foundational grasp of the religion, and then wonder why years later they're having these doubts about whether or not they even want to be Muslim. You had weak faith that was unnurtured. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us not to be like Bani Israel. He said, وَلَا يَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ مِنْ قَبْلُ فَطَّالَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَمَدُ فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَكَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُمْ فَاسِقُونَ. And do not be like those who were given the book beforehand. فَطَّالَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَمَدُ. And a long time passed and they did not nurture their faith. فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. And their hearts became hard. وَكَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُمْ فَاسِقُونَ. And most of them were rebellious, sinful individuals anyway. That is the end result of not nurturing your faith. Sitting around entertaining kalam over here and this gossip over here and there, and that becomes your day then. That becomes your that becomes your modus operandi. That's how you function. I go to this masjid because this is where it's cool to be. This is where it's hot. This is where it's lit. This is where all the gossip and talk is around. Or I go here and then at the end of it all, you're left depleted, spiritually depleted, with nothing to grab onto. Nothing to grab onto. Brothers and sisters, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Use your religion. Delve into your religion. Get acquainted, spiritually acquainted with your religion. We are living in some dark times. Shaitan is becoming very aggressive in these days and times. Separating families, separating children from their families, separating husband and from wife. Understand how the breakdown starts. It starts with the family. And once the shaitan gets you alone, as the Prophet ﷺ said, "Alaykum bil Jumu'ah," stick to the congregation. And that can be understood in many contexts. Stick with your family. Stick with the Islamic community. "Alaykum bil Jumu'ah." Stick to the congregation. فَإِنَّ الْذِئْبَ يَأْخُذُ الْغَنَمْ الْقَاسِي. He said, because the wolf gets the lone sheep. Shaitan tries to isolate you from everybody else, and then when he gets you by yourself, he got you. That could be in the realm of academia. You have some Muslims who go out into the universities and colleges, and off you go on your journey to becoming a scholar in intellect, leaving everything behind, including your intellect. Whatever the professor tells you, that's law, written in gold. Even if it goes against your own religion. You have millennial Muslims questioning hard and fast laws and rules in the religion based upon what some professor in the university told them. Based upon something they read out of a book. Based upon some enlightenment that they've arrived at. Here is the religion of Islam, been around for 1400 some odd years. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left no stone unturned. He told one of his companions who used to write down the hadith at the earlier times, and the Jews used to mock him and say, "You write down everything that he does? He's a man just like we are. He gets angry just like we do." So he went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "They're teasing me about me writing down what you said." He said, "Uktub for وَالَّذِي بَعَثَنِي بِالْحَقِّ لَا يَخْرُجْ مِنِّي إِلَّا الْحَقِّ." He said, "Write everything that comes out of my mouth, because I swear by the one who sent me with the truth, nothing leaves my mouth except the truth." And you will compromise that for something a professor told you in the university? Gotta be kidding me, man. This is where we are. Stick to the Jama'ah, brothers and sisters. Stick to your religion. Stick to your families. Understand the shaitan gets the lone sheep. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects us from shaitan. Oh Allah, we seek your refuge and your protection from shaitan al-rajim. Oh Allah, we seek your refuge and your protection from shaitan al-rajim. Allahumma inna na'udhu bika min sharri anfusina. Oh Allah, we seek refuge with you from the evil of our own souls. Allahumma la tamna'na bi khayri ma indika bi sharri ma indina. Oh Allah, do not deny us the good that you have because of the evil that we have. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Oh Allah, we ask you for the good of this life and the good of the hereafter, and to save us from the hellfire. Allahumma a'izz al-Islam wal-Muslimin. Oh Allah, give honor to Islam and to the Muslims. Allahumma a'izz al-Islam wal-Muslimin. وَأَذِلَّ الشِّرْكَ وَالْمُشْرِكِينَ, and humiliate shirk and the idolaters who ascribe to that belief system. وَدَمِّرْ أَعْدَاءَنَا أَعْدَاءِ الدِّينِ, and destroy the enemies of Islam, the enemies, whether they are in our deen or outside of our deen, those who seek to destroy Islam, those who seek to destroy and cause harm to the Muslims. Allahumma alayka bihim. Oh Allah, for you is to deal with them. وَحْمِ حَوْزَةَ الْإِسْلَامِ يَا رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Oh Allah, protect and preserve the religion of Islam, O Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Wa akhiru da'wana ala alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa aqimus salat.